Too much
I'm
media.
fine.
Tune in
Much
to
media.
welcome to Too Much
Done saying
Media.
I'm done playing. Last time I was on the outro.
One thing I just remembered yesterday was, because I was thinking about Jay-Z and all his accomplishments as far as artists go and developing artists and creating like some of the biggest names we know. And I remembered that both Rihanna and Meg are his like two biggest, I'd say, female artists besides Beyonce, of course, but I don't really count her in the same realm as them just because the ring. But what I was thinking about was the fact that both of those two females, other than Beyonce, are his two biggest like accomplishments. And I was thinking about how some people say kind of Meg is a bit of like a stain on his name and like a bit of like an embarrassment because of the whole Tory situation. But when you look back, Rihanna technically had the exact same almost identical situation, being outside in LA, getting into an altercation with a man, and then police being called, that said man being arrested, ran through the mud, and then her being free, claiming DV, and then like using that to kind of catapult their career to another stratosphere. And I'm like, so was this a scheme set up by Todd like this whole time? Is this like Jay-Z's recipe? It's like new female artist, put her somewhere in a bad predicament with a man, let shit go down, get them cleared by the police, let that man go down for her, and then ride the wave. But I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, if whether or not that's true, that's just a conspiracy I thought of. I'm quick to like be linking up dots that may or may not connect. But at the same time, I'm thinking about the fact that why, when that happened to Rihanna, the difference is people never gave Meg the grace that Rihanna got. Mind you, all that happened to Rihanna, not to say all that because this is still a lot, but like what happened to Rihanna was that she got beat like hands and feet. But like Meg got literally shot, like a literal bullet had to enter her, and still she never got the grace Rihanna got. And I'm just curious about that of like, like what's the difference in these two circumstances of like Rihanna being able to have that grace? I do personally, I feel as though it has to do with the fact that Meg is Black American and Rihanna is Caribbean and a foreigner immigrant. And so she gets to have this like more view of like a mercy of like, not even being from here to even, have that like safety net of like knowing knowing the place that you're at and stuff like that. Whereas because Meg is Black American, and not only is Meg Black American, but she's Southern Black American. She's not even like a East Coast Black American or West Coast. She's a Southern Black American. And I feel as though like Black American women are given like the least amount of grace out of, like, women aren't ever given grace regardless, but Black American women are given the least amount of grace of every like sector of woman, in my opinion, because it's like they're always kind of using them as scapegoats for stuff, So I feel as though that has to have like a bit to do with it. I don't know like the science and the metaphysics behind it, but I do feel as though there is a touch of that in the reason why she wasn't given the same grace as Rihanna. Because you could argue that, it's because with Meg, we ended up finding out that she was the one being rah-rah back or whatever. Or you could say that, because whatever she lied about, they say having sex with him or this, that, and third. Who cares about all that? Because at the end, we ended up finding out on the side of Chris that Rihanna was the one who was beating him up, like originally, to the point where he almost crashed a car. They had to stop at a gas station, this, that, and the third. So in both aspects of this, the woman was technically the original aggressor due to a narcissistic man's infidelities, and then things going down. So something as stupid as her not wanting to claim Tori can't be what we're saying is the reason Meg didn't get that grace, because at the end of the day, we found out in the Chris and Rihanna situation that it was similar when it comes to the fact that she was the aggressor originally as far as physical abuse goes. But let's say she lied about them two having sex. Regardless, Meg got literally shot. So you're saying that because she lied about them two having sex, that means that it equates to it being justified for him to shoot her? Shoot with a gun? The type of thing that kills you instantly? We've seen the results of gun violence recently, Charlie Kirk. And so just because of that one simple fact, because even the fact that we asked her whether or not they were sleeping together, what does that really have to do with the fact that he shot her? So, and she probably lied because you asked of like, she can tell like that answer is what you're depending, your result of whether or not she's a victim of like, if you slept with him, hey, you're asked to get shot. If you sleep with him, then that means you give away your right to not be shot. That doesn't even make any sense. The question doesn't even equate to the situation, And then it's like, okay, so she got shot. Rihanna got beat, hands and feet, right? And we find out she's the aggressor. She is sleeping with this man. And then therefore, but then we give her grace. But Meg gets a whole bullet in her. She's also sleeping with this man, but she gets terrorized and dragged through the mud and called everything but a child of God. And I'm like, this is interesting. Like, now that I'm looking at the parallel of those two situations, first of all, this seems like a Scheme Todd setup. Back to my original point. And second of all, why is it that we give Rihanna the grace that Megan won't get even with a bullet in her? Like, I feel like, because no one cared what the situation was when that happened to Rihanna. The minute we saw her beat up, we were like, oh yeah, Chris is done. He's out of here. To this day, I don't listen to Chris Brown. That ended everything. And mind you, back in the day, water, I keep on feeling it fall. Do you know we was acting like we could climb walls? We was acting like we was changing the laws of physics because of that song. I had his CD. Back in the day, buying a CD was a big deal. Because you're going to only be listening to that. Chris Brown was your decision maker. It was like, it's fine. I will listen to this album on repeat. Then he beat Rihanna. I never touched that CD again. I don't know where it is. I never touched it. That was it. I was like, I don't need to listen to Wall to Wall that bad. Take a bow. And now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, like that's all it took. It was as simple as that. We saw that he was abusing women and we were like, yeah, that's it on that. Chris still has his defenders to this day, somehow, some way. But me, I never forgave personally. So I'm like thinking about it and I'm just like, huh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting that the second we saw Rihanna hurt, we're like, okay, cool, done with Chris. But Meg gets shot and we're like, are we sure it's bullets? Are we sure that, what's it called? He abused her? Are we sure? We saw helicopters in the air. This nigga's still in jail to this day. We saw her climbing, barely able to walk. Still, they're like, nah, who knows? It was glass, it was this, it was that. Like, all these arguments where it's like a grown-ass man put her in a situation where we're even questioning all this. I'm not going to keep dwelling on this because I feel as though you guys get the point, but like, attempting to get my attention. I don't like when you're acting too tempted. Relax, you don't need to be mentioned. You could be sent back at the entrance. I can tell you never seen a temptress. So cold, I decide what the temp is. I like when you talk cause you meant it. If I picked, I'm the one that I went with.